And so for what I do in the space that I'm in with Time Lending, I can get to go out and create my pipeline.
Okay.
So my client base is not just a person who just want to buy a home, but also the realtor. So I'm sitting down with realtors probably like 4 times a week,
Okay.
different realtors.
Okay.
We're just having a conversation, not selling anything, but just kind of like getting to know them, right? And so in this space, it's just more like on the lending side, you're helping somebody find good products, good pricing, so they can get affordable home, right? On the real estate side, you're helping somebody find a house.
Welcome back to the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Tyrone, and we help aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs excel to the next level by inviting other aspiring, new, and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast where we help you grow to the next level by giving knowledge, gems on how to get to the next level. Right now, we have Greg Nelson, a special guest here on the podcast. This guy grew a business, multiple businesses while working in corporate America. He started a photography business. He has multiple properties that he's built and a few other things, but I don't want to take away the shine. Without further ado, I want to introduce Greg Nelson. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Thank you, man.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, man.
You're welcome, man.
Yeah, so just give us a brief introduction, man, and tell us about yourself.
Man, Greg Nelson, man. Born and raised Chicago.
Okay.
Grew up on the south side of Chicago. Came here to Ohio back in 2007.
Okay.
And my background has been mortgage banking. I worked at Chase Bank for 15 years.
Okay. Put a mic in just a little bit.
Yeah, about 15 years. And married. My wife and I, we have 4 kids, 15, 13, 11.
Okay.
Baby girl, she's 4, so 3 boys,
Okay.
1 girl. So, yeah, took a leap of faith, man, after a long career and decided to get into real estate. So I'm a licensed real estate agent, also a loan officer, and also have a photography business called G&A Studios.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So when did you start your first business?
Yeah, so I started G&A Studios back in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, back in 2016.
So what inspired you to get started?
Man, I always loved cameras.
Okay.
So I always loved cameras, man. And my wife on Father's Day, I used to do a lot of run and gun shoot videos.
Gotcha.
For my church, and then just cut them up, edit it, and stuff like that. It used to look real nice. And so my wife, she got me a professional camera on Father's Day.
Okay.
And when she got me the camera, I told her, I said, I'm gonna make a business out of this.
Okay.
Never done photography. Always did video.
Okay.
And so I had to learn how to become a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought being a photographer was just taking a camera, taking pictures.
Right.
But nah, that's a whole
Pointed at
different.
somebody and just hit the button.
Nah, you gotta learn lighting. You gotta know how to edit. And so I started. I reached out to somebody who actually my son and they was in basketball at the time,
Okay.
and they was doing team pictures.
Yeah.
And so there was a photographer there. He had all the cameras, all the professional equipment, and so like. I just kind of like pulled him to the side, started talking to him, just asking him questions about the lighting. At that time, I didn't really have like a portfolio, weddings or seniors. I didn't really have like anything in particular that I shot.
Right.
And so I asked him some questions. He's like, yeah, man, you can come over anytime, borrow my lights. So I was like, what?
Right.
And so it was funny, man. So I had to learn lighting, but I used his lights one time to shoot a client who wanted me to do like a cheerleading team.
Right. So let me ask you a question really quick. Let's just go back for just a second.
Yeah.
How many clients do you service a month or a week? How does that work? Like, do you get a lot of business in photography?
In photography, yeah. So when I first started, I was doing weddings, seniors, high school. So I had a lot of clientele at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, but the only difference with that was you always constantly working. You got to edit, and so it's just like a lot of editing took up a lot of my time. Okay. So you can make a lot of money, but when you break that down into time that you're doing it, then it's just kind of like you want to be able to shoot, but then able to turn those pictures back over to the client to go out and get your next client. But I did pretty well within my first 5 years. The first 2 years, it was just me building a portfolio. So I was just shooting everything.
So you have the photography business. Mm-hmm. So you're staying busy with that.
Mm-hmm.
How many properties do you have?
Right now, just 2.
Okay, so 2.
Yeah, 2
right
properties.
Now, just 2.
Just 2,
Some
yeah.
people don't even have 1.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, we started off back in 2016.
Okay.
We had 5 properties.
Okay.
When COVID came,
okay,
values went up, pretty much sold everything.
Okay, so at one point in time you had 5.
We had 5 properties.
So photography business, at one point in time you have 5 properties.
Yes.
And then you also said you're a mortgage lender?
Mortgage lender, yes.
Okay. All right.
So started a company, Tyve Lending,
Okay.
mortgage broking company, pretty much for residential,
Okay.
helping people get loan products, FHA, USDA, VA, just like other typical lending companies. Started that company just because of the mission, Tithe. It's all about just giving back to the community. So every every loan that we close, we give 10% back to the community. And so like we partner with the Dream Foundation, the Hope Team, the Hope Center, and the Dream Foundation. And so we serve like once a week, go there and serve and stuff like that, just to give back to the community and feed the homeless and stuff like that. And so just joining a company that's bigger than self.
Right.
So,
I realized that when I saw the name, and I'm like, I had my glasses on. I'm like,
Yeah,
does that say Tithe?
Tithe.
I thought that was really cool. And honestly, when I saw that,
Yeah.
I thought you came up with that name.
No.
When I saw Tithe, I was like, man, that's really dope. So you have basically multiple streams of income.
I do, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So
Yeah.
now let's go back to the story about the
yeah.
lighting. I mean, I had to get that out there. Like, man, the fact that you built businesses while you were still in corporate. You left corporate, and to have 3 businesses, multiple streams of income, with stuff that you didn't know, you had to learn, going to different people to say, hey, can you teach me the game? Can you show me how to work this camera?
Yeah.
Can you show me how to buy properties? Can you show me how to be a lending officer? All of that, man. I think that's huge. So I just wanted to make sure we spotlighted that.
Nah, thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so sorry. Go ahead, man.
Nah. So with the lighting, I reached out to him, picked up the lights, man. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And so the client, she booked me. But of course, in any business, you always hear the saying, fake it till you make it. Right? So you coming out professional, setting up lights. Took me about 30 minutes to set the lights up. I'm in the gym sweating.
Yeah.
Don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And, I just had this confidence, man. Pictures came out okay. Right? But to them, when you shoot, you're more technical about your work than the client is.
Absolutely.
But that was just an opportunity. During that time, I was still in corporate.
Okay.
And so I was just like, man, I was just eager to learn. I'm like, I got to get this down to where I'm just shooting. I know how to shoot, And so I watch like people portfolios like on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm like, man, how he get that like that? And so I go out on Amazon buying all this equipment. I'm buying equipment. I'm buying lights. My wife's like, how many more lights you gonna buy? So I'm buying lights. I'm buying straps, not knowing this does not create the product. And so what I did was a buddy. I was like, I'm gonna swallow my pride. Reached out to him. He actually used to work with us.
Okay.
And he was a photographer at the time. He still is a photographer.
Okay.
And I seen his work. I say, look, man, how do you get your pictures to look like this? And he said, man, you know something, man? And he's an older gentleman too.
Okay.
He said, man, we should set up a little date, man. We can go out, get a few models and just like shoot them or whatever, go downtown. That's what we did.
Okay.
And dude, when I tell you, he showed me 2 things
Yeah.
in my camera and how to position my light.
That's it.
And from there, it was just like,
2 things.
got it.
Wow.
That was it. It was just the settings. And so like,
Did he charge you?
no, he
that's
didn't.
good,
He didn't.
man.
And so like what I did, I actually reached out to a few people I knew and said, hey, can you shoot with us? Me and my dude.
Yeah.
We gonna get some shots in. And man, when I tell you, dude, when he did that, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. It's a skill to this. And man, ever since then, it's just like, I love photography.
So what 2 things did he show you?
He showed me how to, like, my settings in my camera.
Okay.
And so, like, you have settings in the camera. A lot of people don't know ISO. A lot of people don't know exposure. And a lot of people don't know f-stops.
Okay.
Like, how to make a picture look blurry in the background, but then make the person be a focal point.
Yep, I do.
And so he showed me that, but he showed me how to use it with light.
Ah.
And when he showed me that, there's like different variations you can do. And it's like, oh, I get it. Okay. That's how you make somebody pop, right? And so, man, I go, at that point, I had a lot of equipment. I'm like, my wife was like, hey, you need to sell some of that.
Right.
If you're going to buy something else. But when I got me nice little strobes, and I pretty much learned how to shoot off-camera flash.
Okay.
So when you go to studios, you got the backdrops and all that, but then you can also shoot outside with strobe lights. That's wireless.
Okay.
And you create your own light. So if the sun is out, you can go find a shaded spot, use a light to kind of make it look like a shade, but then you can just make the individual, the subject pop in the picture.
Wow.
And so it's a skill. It's a skill.
Yeah.
And so I started learning that. I reached out to a company at the time. It was Columbus Bride and Grooms.
Okay.
Because I was trying to build up my portfolio in the wedding industry.
Right.
And
So really quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
when the guy took you out,
Yeah.
and he was asking you,
Yeah.
like, hey, show me some techniques. He showed you. Did you have clients at that time besides the one shoot you did in the gym?
I had a few.
Okay.
I had a few, and it was more people that was close to me, people in my church.
Okay.
We started a business. You reaching out to people, no, that's cute.
Exactly, right.
You're like, nah, that's not cute.
Right.
No, that's not. That's not.
So you still in corporate at this time?
I was still in corporate, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in corporate at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was shooting, and pretty much I would shoot like on the weekends. And so how I would do it was I'll charge less, like $30-$40, and I'd take a whole bunch of pictures.
Okay.
Which I don't recommend that to nobody.
Right.
That's not good to do at all. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is get a mentor.
Okay.
Join a class.
Yeah.
And find a way where you can build a portfolio through instructions.
Gotcha.
And somebody got some models. That way you can show them like good work.
Okay.
And then you promote that, and then you set your prices as you gain experience in your skill.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
So I would say my second year is when I started.
You bootstrapped it, as they say, right?
Oh yeah, I did, man.
Okay.
I mean, because I was starting off $50,
Yeah.
and then like my prices went from 50 to like say 75, probably like a couple months after that.
Yeah.
But then after that, man, I was like 175, 250, and like now anything I shoot is like 275 or above.
Okay.
But yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So you reached out to the bridal company.
Reached out to the bridal company.
Okay.
At the time, it was Columbus Bride and Groom, and reached out to them, just seeing how I can get like more into the wedding industry.
Yeah.
And so they invited me in. Oh, my bad.
No, sorry.
Invited me in. Sat down with I guess consultation you can call it.
Yeah.
Asked me like what was my plans, and I was like, I want to shoot a lot of weddings.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I knew. And she's like, okay, well, we can sign you up on a subscription. So pretty much how they did it was they had like data. They can pull data for people who got engaged. So they put on these wedding expos, and they collect data throughout the year. And these people join the wedding expo, and they put down the wedding date. They need a DJ. They may need a DJ. They may need a photographer, and whoever partnered with them. So they partner with like photographers, DJs, videographers, and so I was one of their vendors.
Okay.
And so they would get this information. They send us a lead list, but I would pay for it throughout the year. So I paid for it for the whole year.
Okay.
It was like $1,200, and so I would pay for it. They send me a lead list. So I was cold calling
Okay.
brides.
Oh, wow.
I was cold calling brides. So this was my third year in photography.
Uh-huh.
I was cold calling brides, and
Third year. What year was that?
This was 20. So I started in 2016. No, 2018.
2018.
2018.
Okay.
Cold calling brides, and man, I had 11 weddings in that year. 11
Wow.
weddings. No lie. I had 11
Out
weddings.
of how many calls?
I was over probably like 100 calls, man.
Okay, so-
Because every month I would get a lead list.
Which is good, because that's about 10%.
Yeah. And at the time my prices wasn't like for weddings, like, cause I never really did a wedding.
Yeah.
I did like a friend's wedding. It was like $400 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized, like, even in business, like after a while, you stop focusing on pricing.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to more focus on just customer experience, and that's where the value comes from.
That's the
Not
corporate coming
out. Yeah. I know, right? And so, right, I know, right? And so I get the lead list, man. I'm cold calling. I'm setting up weddings, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I reached out to somebody who did weddings, and they showed me how to like put like a shot list together for the whole day.
Okay.
Like, from a ceremony, how to do bride prep, groom prep, like how to do that. And so at that time, I was the only photographer, and so I knew a few photographers where I would just outsource. Like,
Was this photo and video, or just photo?
just photos at the time.
Okay.
Photos at the time.
Okay.
And so I reached out to somebody and said, hey, can you help me do this wedding
Right.
ceremony, bride prep, and stuff like that. And so, yeah.
Okay. So now, where do you stand now with your business? Are
Yeah.
you still focused on weddings, or are you doing something completely different?
So for photography, I just pretty much niched down to just doing high school seniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
Honestly, I've been shooting seniors since I pretty much started, but I niched down currently this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like right now I'm in the process of just like revamping and rebranding the whole website.
Okay.
Just geared more towards seniors.
Gotcha.
Just because I realize in this space, like if you're somebody who's about to have a wedding,
Right.
or planning a wedding, you don't want to go to a website where they having baby showers, birthdays. Like it's they like, okay, well he does great work, but I'm not his focus. I'm not his target. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so you want to go with somebody who has more experience. And so your website is like one of those sites that can actually brand that,
Right.
and show people he's an expert in what he does.
Okay. So when did
Yeah.
you get when did you start your website? Was it when you first started photography or?
I started probably a couple months
Couple
after
months?
I started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so good thing with that, man. I built my website from scratch.
Nice.
I learned it, man. And
See?
so yeah, so I
Exactly.
use Squarespace.
Okay.
And I went on YouTube, watched an hour-long video on how to do it.
Yeah.
And really, all it is a template.
Exactly.
Drop and drag.
Right.
And drop and drag, fonts, colors,
Yep.
you know, and just learn that, man. So
It's
yeah.
funny. I did the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
From scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really simple. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as when you know your business, you know what
Yeah.
you want to see. You know what pictures you want
Yeah.
to see. You know what content you
Yeah.
want to see. So, how did you get into the real estate part, right? Because I
Yeah.
know that part came along at some point. So,
Yeah.
what year did you decide to get into real estate?
So real estate started, man, honestly, in 2015, my wife and I, we just started, we wasn't licensed agents at the time.
Okay.
We found a house on auction.com.
Okay.
And you know, auction.com, you don't really get to see the home
Uh-huh.
until you buy the home.
Ah.
And so we brought a home, and it wasn't like the best home
Okay.
or whatever. And so my wife, we looked inside. I reached out to somebody who I knew did real estate, and was just like, I would never brought that, bro.
Right.
And I was like, dang.
So
Okay.
this was your personal portfolio, right?
This is personal portfolio,
Okay.
yeah. So we just trying to get into the investment, right?
Gotcha.
We was trying to get into the buy a home and start renting it out,
Okay.
right? And so found that home, was like, this is gonna be a complete gut, meaning that we got to gut the whole house out. It's an older home, 3 stories. You got dealing with asbestos. It was bad.
Dealing with who?
Asbestos.
What's that?
It's just kind of like it's hazardous. Like I guess like they said it can cause like cancer. It's like if you breathe it in.
Like a chemical or something?
It's a chemical, yeah. It's like a
Okay.
chemical, and
Okay.
so just different stuff like that. And it was like, okay, we had like somebody to come and do an inspection on it.
Yeah.
And it was gonna be like $50,000 worth of work.
Wow.
You know, we paid at the time it was like 10 grand for it, and so we was just like, what do we do? So somebody told me, it was just like, man, you could just clean it out and just put it back on the market.
So did you like pay 10 grand cash or?
We paid 10 grand cash.
Okay.
Yeah, so at that time, you know, homes were like 8,000, 12,000,
Exactly.
13,000, and we
When
just
times
didn't-
are good.
Yeah, we didn't believe in want to do that, right? And so we was going through a transition where he's like, man, we're just gonna rent
Okay.
and just build, right? We want to build passive income,
Mhm.
and so we got that property. And we was like, okay, it's gonna be a lot of work because we ain't got $50,000 in cash, and
Right.
we don't want to go in debt for it.
Right.
And so we put it back clean. We did some minor things. We got the inspection. I think we did a few things to it. We ain't renovated it, but we put it right back on the market. Got a realtor, put it back on the market, and we ended up selling it. Probably made like 4 grand above because we ended up selling it for like 15, around 15, 16.
Okay.
And then after the agent get their commission and stuff like that. And so we took that and was just like, okay,
What's next?
what's next? Right. So it was like, okay, we learned from that.
Right.
And so we told a friend of ours at the time, hey, let us know, because we know they was into investing. Let us know if something comes up. Well, he actually had a property, and he had a property that he was selling. I guess like when he brought it, he didn't want to like finish or follow through with the renovations, finish up the renovations. So the electrical was done, some of the plumbing was done. And so we walked through, we looked at it, it was like, okay, some cosmetics, some
Okay.
paint and stuff like that we need to put into it. And so that was a learning experience. That's what we
Okay.
thought we needed.
Right.
And
Until you actually got in there.
so we ended up buying it.
Okay.
We ended up buying that with the 15 we had.
Okay.
And so we brought it. And so the next step was we need somebody to come like fix it up. So
Right.
we reached out to some friends who knew some contractors, got a contractor, kind of did one room at the time.
Okay.
And so we did it cash, right? And so
Okay.
what we did was credit card, 13 months interest free. Use the credit card to kind of help pay for the materials. We're still working in corporate at the time, so we can take some of the money we're making because we live on below our means, stay in an apartment. Let's take some of this money. We can kind of put a little money here and there on buying, paying the contractor. So we're taking our time doing it. And it was just cosmetic. We wasn't trying to do like a full gut. It was
Yeah.
just a small little renovation so we can get it ready for Section 8.
Yeah.
And so we did that. Learn through that process. You're dealing with contractors,
Right.
you know, and so that was just the start of it. So that was one we had, and so what we would do with that, we monthly income off that, plus income we're making at work. And so that motivated us to like, man, let's spend less on things that we don't need. Didn't do cable.
Okay.
We didn't have a car note.
Wow.
No car note, no cable.
Okay.
Right. And then also too, when you building and you learning, you got to make sure you're not comparing yourself to people. And so like we're around people who buy homes, they having a house, and I'm like, it's so enticing because we're a big family of 3 at the time with 3 kids.
Okay.
And it was like, man, we want to get a house.
Right.
But we knew like we had to stay in our lane.
Gotcha.
It wasn't that we was not ready.
Right.
Because we made good money. It
Right.
was just that.
So you were renting at the time.
We was renting
while
at the
you
time
were investing in
while we
property.
invested in properties.
Okay.
And so we just like right now it's not the time. And so we took proceeds from the property. You know, of course we saving because we living frugal.
Absolutely.
And you know, at the time I was like, let's do another property. And so just kind of repeated that cycle. But some of the properties we got was like, you know, through some people just wanted to give it up because they owe a lot of back taxes on it. So we took advantage of that. And, you know, I think we financed one like later on, but we flipped that.
Right.
But yeah, man, that's pretty much how we got started in corporate.
Okay.
You know, and
Let me ask you a question. Just let's go back to the first property. Now, second property, I love the way you broke that down, right? Because I think it's great tips for a lot of listeners who's looking to get into real estate and stuff like that, knowing where you started. It's like, okay, yeah, we did put a little bit on credit cards. We did save money. We didn't have a cable bill. We didn't have, what'd you say, no cable, no car note, like that type of stuff. You know, a lot of times people talk about investing in real estate, but they never break it down that way. So going back to the first property, I know you said you spent $10,000 cash. So did you save that money over the course of time, or was it, like, how did you fund that project?
It was just like emergency fund, like money that we would save, like emergency funds.
Okay.
Just saving, because like, I mean, when you don't really know, when you didn't grow up learning how to like really use money, you don't know about leveraging and investing. So you like, I'm gonna save as much as I can, right?
Yep.
And so like we would just save. We save. Like I said, we just lived below our means.
Okay.
You know, did what we needed to do. You know, took care of what we needed to take care of at the time.
Exactly.
But we knew we wanted to get into investing, so it was just kind of like we got to like put our money to the side so we can start that process.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the sacrifice. That's the hard part.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
How long did the renovations take on the second property?
So for the second property, I would say probably a little bit less than 90 days.
Okay.
Just a little less than 90 days because we knew we kind of like had our flow.
Right.
Like once once electrical is good, plumbing is good. Okay, now we ain't got to go behind the walls. Okay, now we just got to paint, trim. You know, so we kind of knew that flow. For the second property, we did have like one mistake, and I learned, you know, the electrical wasn't grounded. So when they got inspected, so I had to have somebody come back out, cut a hole in the socket areas, and then we had to like drywall that back up. But I learned from that, didn't repeat that failure at all.
Right.
And so, yeah.
So did you do some of the work yourself, you and your wife?
We did some cleaning, but that was it, man. Nah, man.
No drywall or nothing.
I was
like
working
that?
corporate at the time.
Okay.
So I didn't really have the time, man. No, I didn't really have the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was just like, just pay for what you want.
So you said basically, so property one, you learned a lot. Property two, you actually did things the right way. It's like, okay, hey, we're going to take the profit from the first property, put it into the second property. But this time we're going to but hire a contractor that can come in and do the work.
Do the work, yep.
You learn from that process, and you said you pretty much repeated it from there.
Yep, we just repeated it, yep.
Okay, so what were some of like I guess you could say like milestones or turning points throughout either that process or even as a photographer?
Yeah, I would say for photography, it was just more, I would say milestones. Like once I learned how to like learn my skill, like learn how to like shoot, then it was like, it was easy for me to have a conversation, like to have that confidence. Say, hey man, you know, just to go out and get my clients, or just advertise, just because I felt more poised when I went to a session. You know, I didn't, because normally before I used to show up like an hour early, just out of nervousness. But now it's like I have more poise. I can show up in 10 minutes because I know this area. And so I would say just like, man, just the experience, man. Getting the experience is so critical. And I would say for real estate, it's the experience. It's the experience and just learning through it, honestly. I would say that's the turning point. And then just once you do it a couple of times, you break down that barrier or that wall of fear, right? And you know, like you just know, right? And so, and then just networking, like you find different people that you work with that you can trust. And so I think like the third home, it was more like we was working with contractors who can fund their own material, and they can give us receipts at the end, and we can pay them there, because I was just tired of running back to Lowe's on breaks. One contractor said, hey, we need this amount, but then we really need X amount, and
Right.
and so you just kind of learn through that.
Okay.
But I would say that just the amounts, yeah, I would say that's it right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did all of that transfer over into mortgage lending? Like, where did that even come from?
Yeah, so being in mortgage banking,
Okay.
you learn in terms, escrow, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So when I was in corporate, man, I did call center, the help for homeowners, loan modifications, did underwriting. I managed for like 5 years. Was in the complaint department, right? And so you like all that experience, right? All that knowledge.
Those transferable skills we talked
Just
about.
transferable skills, right? When I left corporate, I was licensed real estate agent, and so
Okay.
it's like I'm learning the other side of what I was in, right? I never did lending, right? But I know the terms, all the regulatory terms and all that stuff. And so, as a real estate agent, well, take it back a little bit. When we was doing investing, we was not agents at the time.
Okay.
My wife took the leap of faith to become an agent first.
Okay.
And so she's a real estate agent. And then, she was like, after a couple of years, she's like, it's your turn. Heard from God, took a leap of faith, and became a real estate agent.
Okay.
After doing a few deals, had some immediate success early on. And, my wife was just like, we had one transaction, we was working with a particular lender. And, she was like, it'd be nice, man, if we had a loan officer. Like, you should go back and get your lending license. And I was just like, well, I left that whole world. But she was like, no, you can go in a whole different avenue where you don't have to like go to a bigger bank and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I just did the research and took my classes, got my license.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what has that experience been like as far as being a mortgage lender? Because I don't know the difference between a real estate agent and a mortgage lender.
It's cool, man. So it's cool. What I like about this is like what you and I are doing right now.
Okay.
We sit down and have a conversation.
Right.
So when you work for the big banks, it's a pipeline.
Okay.
As they come in, you don't know these people. You underwriting people loans, and so for what I do in the space that I'm in with Type Lending, I can get to go out and create my pipeline.
Okay.
So my client base is not just a person who just want to buy a home, but also the realtor. So I'm sitting down with realtors probably like 4 times a week.
Okay.
Different realtors.
Okay.
Just having a conversation, not selling anything, but just kind of like getting to know them, right? And so in this space, it's just more like on the lending side, you're helping somebody find good products, good pricing, so they can get affordable home, right? On the real estate side, you're helping somebody find a house. You know what I mean? So you're a realtor, you're helping
Right.
somebody find a home.
Right.
But on the lending side, you're helping somebody, like, you basically doing the deal.
Got
You
it.
finding, you computing the numbers and things like that.
So like creative financing.
Creative financing, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So with all three, right? So now you got real estate, you got photography business, you're doing the mortgage lending. How do you balance the three?
That's a good question. So, our kids, there's ebbs and flows. I would definitely say, like, with my wife being an agent, like, our week, it has to be intentional. Like, our schedule, we have a schedule.
Well, oh yeah.
You got to have a schedule.
Right.
Our kids are in sports, man. It's a lot of back and forth. And we schedule, like, on Thursday nights is our family devotion time.
Okay.
But this week we actually did it we did it a little early just because we knew we was gonna be busy. But it's just really being intentional, man. Our kids are homeschooled. It's just really putting it on a schedule. Just checking in with each other, just making sure that on this day and this particular time that we're both not like away from the family.
Right.
But like we also. So I got to talk about the faith aspect of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think you can go out and go get the bag and do all that, but
Absolutely.
man, just keeping God in that plan is very important. So, like with the family, it's just more like no matter how much success or no matter how much traction I'm getting in this business, my time with my family is important.
Absolutely.
And so that's just the base. And so it's like I want my business to be in a way where it's not taking all of my day, right? Because there's times where you can you know, we may have to get a call after 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. That's okay, but just making sure when I'm with my family, that's uninterrupted time. And so
On Thursday.
Thursdays or throughout the week too. So
Okay.
like my wife, we just say we got to have dinner, making sure we have a dinner together. You know, and of course there's times where we don't because my son, one of my sons is in golf, my other son in football. You know, sometimes the schedule may not fit that particular day.
Right.
But at night, we putting our kids to sleep, and you know, it's nobody's outside of the home late at night working and things like that. And so, that's really it, man. Just staying in flow with one another and just making sure we're communicating.
So
Yeah.
is there ever a day where you get a call that somebody wants you to, I don't know, come out and do a shoot?
hmm
You get a call that somebody wants you to figure out creative financing for their mortgage and something you have to do in real estate all in one day.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but the way so like in photography, I just go down the list. In photography, you know, you set your schedule. So somebody, hey, want to book? You know, not to book that. Like I'm not going to shoot on demand. Like I'm gonna set that. Hey, I'm available on this day, or we can shoot at this particular time. So you can create that schedule.
Okay.
With real estate, you know, we do consultations first. So we're not showing people a whole bunch of homes in one particular day. We do a consultation. We sit down with a person, find out, you know, why they want to purchase, if they ever owned a home, figure out what type of home they want to look for, what's their budget, and more importantly, are you pre-approved?
Right,
Because
exactly.
if you're pre-approved, we can go around and look for some homes. If not, then we just at this phase where we're like trying to get you there.
Okay.
You know, we talk to you, you know, how's your credit? Maybe, you know, maybe you should do this, give them some strategies. Maybe you should do this to fix your credit or do that or whatever. And then for lending, you know, that can pretty much be a all day thing.
Right.
What I like about this is, you know, I can work at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Don't have to work 8 o'clock in the morning, or you know. So I kind of got a little freedom in that. But it's really like once a client submit an application, it's my step to make sure I pull credit, get the pay stubs, tax returns, get all the required docs, and then I can kind of create my work from there.
Right.
Look through everything, see if we can get them pre-approval. If so, now they can shop with their realtor, and then you know once they go into contract, now my job is to lock the rate, do all those things, and so yeah.
Right.
So it you can kind of create not create, but your workflow kind of like set your schedule, but you can kind of set it to where it's not overwhelming
Right.
or overlapping anything. So yeah, there's control in it for sure.
Right.
Like you're not gonna call me like, hey, I need to do a shoot today. Can you come? Like, no. Like first of all, you gotta value
Right.
my profession.
Exactly.
It's just not gonna happen today.
Right,
No, we're
right.
gonna shoot on this particular day. Nah,
Right.
but nah.
No, but that's
Yeah.
solid because a
Yeah.
lot of people think there are a lot of people out here that are talented in multiple things.
Absolutely.
And they feel like, oh, okay, well, I can't do it all because they feel like they're at the beck and call of the customer. Now, obviously, you want to do what's right for the customer, but make sure you respect yourself and your time.
Yeah.
So to your point, I really like that method because you're like, hey, everything is on the
Yeah.
schedule to make sure I don't overlap or
Yeah.
drop the ball or stress
Yeah.
because I'm trying to figure out how to do two things at one time.
Yeah.
So no, I like that.
Yeah, and you bring value. You got to understand that you got to value yourself too.
Right.
Because I mean, in business, sometimes we got to talk about this.
Okay.
Because when you're in business, sometimes when you first, especially when you start off, you feel like you have to reduce everything. You got to reduce your time. Like you got to spend more time, and it's like all you got to focus on is building that skill and provide quality and bring value. You don't have to always give a discount or always have to. If your shoot is an hour, you don't have to go 2 hours trying to please a client. You please them by providing a good product. And so I think in business you got to learn your business first. But I think when you're moving like that, doing things hastily, I just think it comes from a place of just not feeling confident or poised enough in your business, and it's okay, right? But when you in that situation, you got to reach out to somebody who's doing it better than you.
Exactly.
Swallow the pride
Right.
and say, "Hey, I need help."
Right.
And I'm telling you, most people would say, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
But you got to do it in the most humble way. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how you build. You can't be afraid to ask for help.
That's
And
true.
So yeah.
So what are some of the key challenges you've had to overcome? Like, I mean, it's great that you've built, this empire that
Yeah.
you've built, but just some of those key challenges that come along the way. Because sometimes people make it look, and I'm not saying that you have, but just
Oh,
in
for
general,
sure.
sometimes people make it look so pretty. And I talk about some of the challenges that come along with that, where you're probably ready to give up, you're ready to throw in the towel, or you run into a challenge where you can't do the things that you thought you could do or
Yeah.
wanted to do.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think that's so true. I think in business, people don't talk about the behind the scenes enough. And, we kind of hit on it a little bit. I was in corporate while I was doing photography. And so it's like the late nights just to kind of get it there, right? With social media, it looks pretty because it's all instant gratification. But I would definitely say the challenge, it's all mindset. It's mindset. And you touched on it a little bit when we was talking before. You were saying when you was in corporate, how you was just routine. It was so routine, right? And it's kind of like the imposter syndrome, but you like a shell of yourself a little bit. And so I would definitely say for me and my business, early on was me trying to be something I seen. And then when I realized I tapped into the identity aspect of who I am to my core, then it was just like, okay, this is not rocket science. It's mindset.
Exactly.
Like what you want out of this. And so, and how I approach that, man, each day, honestly, is prayer.
Okay.
It's speaking over myself.
Absolutely.
Affirmations. And that's the business. That's the first thing is the mindset. Because we all rehearse those thoughts. Like, man, like when something get hard, like, man, but then you gotta combat that with a scripture. You gotta combat that with, man, I can do this. I got this. You know what I'm saying? You got to spend less time on social media, and I would say for me, those was my challenges early on. More so now is my challenges is like, how do I protect my peace and make sure I'm not overspending my time in certain areas or unhealthy conversations that's not really feeding my goal or my dream. And so I think that is like, those can be the challenges, and then, I would say if you have a bit, don't compare yourself.
Right.
The comparison, man, it kills the joy, man. It steals the joy.
We were just talking about
it does, man, because, man, think about it. Your DNA is attached to you.
Exactly.
There's nobody else with that DNA. So you're unique already. Right? And so, like, if you could be anything in the world, just be yourself. And so I think when you do that and you just tap into who you are, I think that right there will give you the confidence that you need in order to move forward. And so, like, just like in real estate, like there's times you may not get a client. You may not get a closing every week, but your identity can't be attached to that. And I think,
that.
when you work corporate, man, your identity is attached to a pay stub.
Exactly.
You can pay every 2 weeks. So it's easy to be like, I'm in faith, right?
Right.
But then what about when you strip from that?
Exactly.
Then what you're leaning on. And
Absolutely.
so I think for me, that was a big, that out of anything, I could talk to you about numbers. I could talk to you about how much we're doing successfully in business. But honestly, to be real, that to me was the biggest piece that I had to like grasp.
Right.
I did a social media break for 9 months. Audiobooks, Atomic Habits. That was my social media for a minute.
But it was crazy, man. Yeah. People always talk about mindset is so cliche, right?
Yeah.
But it's really not. You may hear people overuse it.
Yeah.
But everything starts with mental health.
It does.
Obviously,
it does.
staying prayed up and having your belief. But it starts with the mindset. Because at first, whatever it is, you have to believe it. It starts there. That's just human anatomy. It starts with the brain, and then it goes from there.
Yeah.
So it truly is mindset. Because if you don't believe it, and nobody else believes in you or what you're doing, then it's not going to get started. Because it has to be, to your point, it has to be internal. It has to start with you. You got to have a goal.
Yeah.
It's something that you're trying to accomplish, and just stay focused on that, and really understand that if you build it, that they will come.
Yeah.
Really understand that if you truly focused on your purpose and you're operating in it, you're going to that whole vibe is going to illuminate off your body.
It will.
And people will be attracted to that.
Yeah, it will. You got to feed it too, though.
Right.
Because you can say mindset, but it's like, because here's the thing, like what you're around, you become.
Right.
What you attract.
Right.
Because it's like, it is mindset at the end of the day. So if you feeding it positive, you pouring into it, then there's something that's going to be in you that's going to be stirred up to want to go do that, right?
Exactly.
And it's going to keep you going forward. That's not saying that negative thoughts or doubt or fear don't come. It does come, but you can combat that with what you're feeding yourself. But if you're not feeding yourself, you don't know to combat that. You're just like, okay, all right, I'm going to go back. Okay, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So that's why it's focused. That's why it's important to focus, lock in. You hear people say that, but you think it's cliche.
Exactly.
But it's really not. When you're in that space, when you experienced it, it's not cliche.
Yeah.
And so you just got to get to that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just changing the tone up a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So what sets you apart, right? You have a lot of photographers out here. You have other mortgage lenders out here. You know, I know you said that you did niche down where you're only focused on high school, right? Like senior pictures and stuff like that. But there's a lot of other people who niche down that are focused on senior pictures. There's a lot of other mortgage lenders out here. What makes Greg Nelson different?
Man, me. And to that, it's a lot for everybody out here.
Okay.
Right? And so it's like, God is not a God of black. And so it's like, when I look at clients, I'm like, there's a lot of clients out there for me. So for me in particular, like the way I shoot, like my skill, but just also just like my whole personality.
Okay.
Like I'm fun, like, you know, I'm not dry, you know. So with singers, like I don't know, I'm just a cool dude, man. Right. And so it's like when I deal with clients, I build them up, like as I'm shooting them, man, you know, this is nice. You look good. I edify them in the process. Because pretty much anybody with a camera can shoot, but I think what sets me apart is the fact that professional. You know, I show up on time. You know, when we do the consultation, you know, I can kind of talk to the client, hear them out first. You know what I mean? I'm not like, man, and sometimes it may not be a good fit.
Yeah.
It just may not be a good fit, and I'm okay with that, right? But it's just really meeting the need of that client, right? And so, for example, for seniors, a lot of the senior clients is more the moms want their child to take a picture. You know, they necessarily don't want to take the picture. And so, like, I love that because now it's like, oh, okay, my personality matches well for this kid because now I can get him to smile. I can say something that's cool. You know, I can kind of flex. I got 4 kids myself. And so I have the experience to do that. And so I would say that, being professional and just, you know, besides a good picture. But, yeah, I would say that would what set me apart, man.
Okay, on the mortgage lending side, you pull someone's credit,
and
it's like, okay, I don't want to discourage them. I want to build them up. So you said that's what sets you apart, the fact that you're relatable, the fact that you're personable, and you're just you. How do you build them up?
Okay, cool. So for that, on everybody got a perfect score.
Okay.
So if I pull your credit, you may say that. I'm not saying that. If you say my credit sucks, I'm not saying that. You got a perfect score. Like, you know, when you know better, you do better. So when I'm looking at the credit report and I see like certain line items, I question it and say, okay, you know, what's up with this? You know, and they say, you know, da 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 da. Okay, well, see if there's any way you can settle on that or, you know, fix that or whatever the case may be. But I would say everybody got a perfect credit score. With lending is basically, you know, whatever product, you know, can you qualify? Of course, you know, you have to have a certain FICO score, 580 for FHA or above. And so, you know, if you fit that criteria, then that's a possibility you have that product, unless it comes to, you know, your debt to income, where it's just like you got more going out than coming in.
Right.
Then that kind of like, well, you know, can get you nothing there, you know. But I would say for even on the lending side, you know, just sitting down, talking to people, just showing them that we care.
Right.
Very full transparency.
Okay.
You know, because when you're dealing with numbers, people about to make the biggest transaction of their life. You know, I don't like talking fast when it comes to business.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing to hide. And so it's like I like to sit down, talk to people, say, hey, this is what we offer. You know, I tell them about my process. It's always going to be a white glove experience because communication is key. Because you know you want to be communicated to. That's how I want to be communicated to. So I let them know from the expectations from beginning to end. You know, and then just pretty much like, you know, like I say, once they get into contract, it's just really like communicating with them what's the next steps is going to be. So yeah.
So when you say you tell all your clients you have the perfect score. That's what you tell them?
Well, no,
okay.
no. I'm just saying, like, if they say my score is bad, like, I'm not here to kind of like condemn them about their score. Like, they come to me for help, so it's like, you know, they want to know if they can qualify. So I'm like, you know, score, it's not as bad as you thought it was. There's some things you can do to fix it, right?
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna say it's bad. Like next, like nah. But I'm just saying, to me, I would say everybody have a perfect score because not perfect score, but when you know better, you do better.
Right.
So it's a good assessment. So if your score is not where it needs to be, here's some things you can do to take care of it.
Gotcha.
I'm assuming you didn't know that. So here you go. You can do that to fix it. You know what I mean? But not perfect, like, in a sense.
I thought you were like, no. I thought you told everybody, no, you have the perfect score.
No, that's deception, man. I ain't doing that. Nah.
I mean, I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, I need clarification for myself.
No.
Okay. So give us a success story. like a success story from both photography and from the mortgage lending side. Like that one story on both ends that really stand out to you.
Yeah.
That's a success story, or that you deem a success story.
With lending, I would say a little too early because I just got started.
Okay.
Photography, man, I would say for photography, um, I think with photography, I pat myself on the back. I would say success stories is when I first got started.
Okay.
Just just pressing in. Not it's new territory. Like I say, I did it as a hobby, running gun with videos, and then like when I decided to make it a business, it just showed me like, man, when you serious about something, when you commit to it, you go all in for it.
Absolutely.
And so I would say that's the success in itself, right? Because now G&H Studios is not. It's not like a renowned company right now. We still in the process of building it, scaling it. But I would say the success is that I never quit, and I kept pressing. Got into the weddings industry, did pretty good there, and it was just like, okay, it just consumed too much of my time on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. My family time, kids playing sports, that's what matters because that's what I'm doing it for. So I got to make sure make the main thing is the main thing.
Right.
But then I was dabbling into high school seniors, doing family pictures. And so it's just like being able to, I think the success is that I'm getting clients that I don't know.
Okay.
You know, like people that I don't know booking me. And it's like, that's amazing. Like you don't know me.
Exactly.
And you book my business.
Right.
Why? And I ask people, like, how do you hear about me? No, I seen you on Facebook. You do great work. I love the lighting. And I'm just like, to me, that just brings me great joy, especially as a creative. That's like, you love that, right? And so I would say that part. And another thing is G&H Studios it's not Greg Photography. So G&H Studios is the umbrella of what's to become. So like my kids, they can grow older and they can say, I want to be a photographer. They can do it under that brand. So Greg don't always have to show up because it's not Greg Photography. And so I think the success, it's still building itself.
Okay.
But I would say the biggest success is the fact that I've been able to go out, get clients, and do sessions with people that I don't know.
Yeah.
And in the business, a lot of people that I knew did book me, but I booked more people that I didn't know. And so like I'm happy. And I was able to build relationships, and they're reoccurring clients that booked me throughout the years.
Yeah, like I went to your like social media.
Yeah.
I've seen your photos. I love your photos.
Thanks, man.
I love the lighting myself, the quality, all of that stuff. You know, websites really clean. I can remember one video you posted. I don't know if you were in a bedroom or something, but it had like red and blue lighting in the back, and you had the camera like right up front. This was maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
I don't know. I think
but I seen the quality. I was like, man, I want to have quality like that.
It's definitely a skill for sure, man. But it's not hard. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
And then I would say for real estate, I would say success story is we always say, sorry, man. We always say customers, relationships over transactions. And so it's like for real estate, I say lending is a little too early just 'cause I just got started.
Yeah.
But for real estate, and it's kind of the same thing, but with real estate, the success story is always when you get a client who don't know if they can buy a house. And, you know, you sit down and you talk to them through the consultation. And it's funny. They plan like, man, we're going to buy a house next year. And then it's like, what I love about it is that you can really encourage and enlighten people that, man, you know, you so far along than what you really think. And they get the ball rolling then.
Nice.
And going into contract, but then also the communication piece while they're in contract. But then dealing with like the ups and downs of fear, like, should we really be doing this? Am I going to have enough money for closing costs and all that? And it's just really like when they close and when you're at the closing table, the money come last. Honestly, man, it's like I'm not in the business for that. Even that's the byproduct, right? But just treating people, you know, people business, treating people well, that's gonna come, right? You know, you take care of people, you're gonna get taken care of it on the back end. But just really just when they close and just seeing the excitement on their face, that's the success story. When they're successful in getting their home, buying their home.
So you just closed on it. We're not closing on the property, but a family just closed on the property.
Yeah.
I saw the picture. You posted.
Yeah. That was a beautiful story.
Nice.
That was a beautiful story, man.
Yeah, they look pretty young.
They were young, man. Just had their brand new baby. And,
yeah, I saw that.
That was awesome, man. Because we sat down with them, and I could share this because I put it in my post.
Right.
We sat down with them, and they were like, they had a plan.
Okay.
And they like, we gonna buy next year. And me and my wife we both did the consultation.
Okay.
And my wife and I, I don't know, we just kind of see ourselves in people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, when you experience it, it's so easy to kind of like tap into that space and help people
Mm-hmm.
genuinely, because you experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a sign up thingy, we trying to hurry and get paid. Like, that's the last thing on our mind.
Right.
And so like, we sitting there and we just like, okay, we letting them talk.
Right.
And we was like, look guys, y'all can do this, can do that. And we just giving them strategy, just different perspective. And they like, okay. And we just got the ball rolling, man. And I love it because they was just like on one accord.
Right.
Every time. And so if there was like something that come up, I talked to the husband, and it was just like, all right, let me get back with you. I'm gonna talk to her.
Yep.
If I talk to her, I'm gonna get back and talk to him. And I was like, I love that. They
Yep.
moving on one accord, because I believe when you're on one accord,
Yep.
it's gonna work, man. And so there was like a few hiccups during the process.
Yeah.
And we was just like, just stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now I'm super happy they was able to close. And then they had their baby, and it's just like perfect timing.
Right.
So they was able to like, they can build a baby room and things like that in this new home.
You know what's cool about that, man?
Yeah.
The fact that you and your wife, I mean, from what I hear,
Yeah.
you two are a power couple, man. The
Yeah.
fact that y'all really, and it's like my wife and I, it's the same thing. That's why I'm
For
saying
sure.
that. It's like you roll off of each other's
Yeah.
back, and
Yeah.
how you two sat down in that room with that other couple, and I'm sure you two were able to bounce off of each other without signs, but the fact that y'all do it so much and so in sync that you say one part and you can pretty much anticipate what she's going to say.
Yeah.
So then when she goes off with the wife and have a conversation, you go off with the husband,
Yeah.
and I'm sure y'all come back and regroup. You're like,
Yeah.
I told him this. She's like, I
Yeah.
told him this. But like,
Yeah.
I figured you were going to say that, so
Yeah,
I said this.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, she bring out stuff. I'm like, I didn't think of that.
Right,
Like,
right.
So it's like working in harmony.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, and it just over time you build that experience. You know, but yeah, it's amazing, bro. I love it, man. I
So
love
let's
it.
talk
Yeah.
about failures and setbacks
Okay.
in all lanes, whichever lanes you want to share.
Yeah, man.
Like those, that gut punching failure setback to where it's like, how can we recover from this?
Yeah, man. I would say and if I'm being real, like
Yeah.
if in the business, it's like, I mean, besides the thoughts, right? I think for me, it's just more like I talked about the mindset. Like for photography, I won't really say like any failure setbacks. Honestly, I would say that the setbacks is, as you building, you kind of like want to make sure, in photography, I was like the photographer, the editor, sometimes that can kind of get a little, where it's cutting into your time, and family time and stuff like that. And there were nights where it was like I was up editing, and because I didn't share this, but I did do like some of the videos, like wedding videos too. And so like it was times where I would like get double booked, and so I'm like, I'm editing, but trying to turn this product over for a client, but then it's like now I'm back editing because I got so much backlog. And so now I won't say, but I would say setback is just kind of like thinking more future stated, like where, man, how can I outsource this to where it can be a helping hand, to where I'm just not always like tied to the business, to where I can't like enjoy certain things. I think my failure, my setbacks been more on a personal level than the business.
Okay.
Just because, like I said, like the identity issue, that part is critical. And you can do great in business and just be a terrible human being, or just like, but I don't think it would really sustain if you're not like who you are, or to your core and stuff like that. So I think mine's just been, honestly, just me being saved, coming to knowing who Christ is, being justified, and just like leaving that old life behind. Yeah.
So identity issues, break that down.
So for me, man, I born and raised Chicago, right?
Okay.
Grew up, I grew up in projects.
Right.
And so like for me, like I lost my mom when I was a freshman in college, lost my dad when I was sophomore in high school. And so growing up, identity, man, it's just like, who am I? Like, as I got older, had my son, and it's kind of like, man, I wish I could ask dad. I wish I could ask mom. And so you leaning on things. And so, have dad, it's kind of like, you're not saved. For me, it was more like being part of the streets, doing, activity that it's not conducive for me, right? Teach his own, but it's like, chasing a lifestyle or living a life where I'm like, okay, I'm doing this because this is what everybody else is doing, and then I realized, like, man, I got to a point where it's just like, tired of this, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, it was just like, I had to figure out who I was, and even after I got saved, it was still like some identity things, you know what I'm saying? It's like some old traumas, you know what I'm saying, from being young, some different thought processes and stuff like that. And so, it's always still like you're still growing and you learning. But for me, I would say those were my setbacks. Not because of it happened, but just more so things I had to get delivered from.
Okay.
From a mindset perspective, just my thoughts on things, my thoughts on life. And so I would say that kind of helped. That helped me more than anything.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's always something that you got to continue to renew your mind to and just continue to strive to be better. So it's not like, oh, I was good this day, I'll be good forever. Like, no, I don't work that way. But I would say my favorite setbacks is not necessarily, I don't tie it to the business.
Okay.
Because I feel like in this business, I'm the brand. And so it's like, I gotta get me together, you know what I'm saying? And so I would say that was always my setbacks.
Do you feel like those two are tied together?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't what's the word? I can't. You can't put it in a box. Like there's no compartmentalized. What's the word?
Oh, I know what you're talking
about. Yeah.
Compartmentalized.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
So I stuttered on that, but it's all good.
No, it's all good. Hey, I do the same thing.
Yeah, and so it's like you can't put those two definitely.
Talking about forward progress, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you in all facets. So with your photography and with real estate, what's your plan to scale? Like, how do you scale? Because of course you can't make multiple Gregs. You can't duplicate yourself, right? So how do you scale your businesses?
For photography, so I'm niching down to senior photography, and so my goal is, I took my whole garage, made it a studio.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't think we talked about that.
No, man.
Yeah. I gotta show you. I should have told you that. Yeah, man.
This is good.
I did that, man. Right when I left corporate, man.
Okay.
Right when I left corporate, told my wife, I'm gonna turn this garage into a studio because I don't want to buy a studio space.
Okay. So
I changed it to a studio space, painted it, everything, man. I got the lights, all that stuff.
Okay.
And I did some shoots and stuff in there, and I was like, man, I just want to niche down to where I can have just one portfolio, and so that's my goal. So to your question, so in the senior photography, what I love to do is what you call behind the scenes. So I feel like you can market, but the way to market is really just posting what you're doing. People want to see it in real time. And so when my shoots, I got to shoot this Saturday. I'm excited about.
Okay.
Shoot 2 twin high school seniors.
Nice.
It's gonna be dope. I'm excited.
Do you have like before and after pictures, like before you built the studio and how
Yeah,
it looks like?
I do. Yeah, I'm gonna show. Yeah, I do.
Have you posted those?
I did, man. Well, no, I didn't do it before. I just posted it when I was done.
Oh man, I mean, dude, that's super creative. That's why I said that.
Oh man, I'll show you the pictures.
Okay.
And so yeah, just really just advertising in that way, just being more on social media, doing more reels. I used to do marketing, like spend marketing on Facebook, but honestly, the best way to do it is just get in front of people. People want to see you.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's my way. That's my plan for the photography, for the real estate and for the lending. It's relationships, man. It's referrals. Referral based business is the best.
Right.
It's if I done business for you and I did a good job, and you can go out there and tell somebody else,
right,
and they go tell somebody else. That's the best.
Okay.
That's the best. And of course, you can market if you're trying to market to a certain demographic, different area. I think that's great, but that's not my plan. So like I got like a CRM set up to where I have like my client in my database and stuff like that. And so like it's set up auto to where it's sending emails and texts and things like that. And so you set those templates up. Yeah. And so that's my way of reaching. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
let me ask you this. Have you ever considered teaching people what you do?
I have, man.
Okay.
I have. I think this is teaching right now. But for the photography side, yes, man.
I mean, to scale.
I do. Yeah, I do, man. I think it's funny, man. I feel like we can teach sometimes better than we can do, right?
Right.
So in photography, that's one of my passions that I want to do, teach other photographers. Okay. I feel like I can teach it really well too, man. Just like the lighting, because I just know like some of the fears most photographers face.
Right.
You kind
Exactly.
of just like you shoot, but there's some self consciousness going on,
Right.
and so just getting people to be more poised with it, more confident, show that in your shoots,
Yeah.
and let the people, because when you show that, when you can portray that, then that person that you're in front of, they're gonna feel that same. They're gonna feel confident.
Exactly.
You know, you looking at your pictures like, they're gonna be looking like. So when I look, I'm like, man, this is beautiful, nice, man.
Right,
You know,
right.
they start cheesing, feeling good about themselves. So now I would love to get in that space, man.
Okay.
For sure, yeah.
We
Yeah.
should talk, man, afterwards.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
you don't mind.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what would you say? Not necessarily sets you apart, but how do you stay up to date on trends, right? So photography, the world of photography, videography is always changing.
Yeah.
Different cameras. So like you may say, oh, I don't know any of the cameras. I'm gonna just make it up. Or I shoot with the Sony M50 and I shoot with this.
Yeah.
How do you stay current on that? Like you're online. To your point, you're on
Yeah.
social media. You see people do a certain thing. You're like, oh man, okay, I need to start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In photography, it's you can. Man, technology is always ever changing, man.
Okay.
Man, it's a camera coming out every week.
Right.
It seems like.
Right.
Now it's like,
Do you always buy the new camera?
no, man, you don't have to.
Okay.
I mean, when you got a professional camera, it can shoot like full frame. I don't want to talk too many technical terms.
Oh no, it's all
But
right.
when you
Go
got a
for it.
professional camera, you can shoot full frame.
You're teaching me some stuff.
When you can shoot full frame, you don't. It's good enough to do the job.
Okay.
Unless you're trying to do something in particular, or you're trying to create a certain shot,
Yeah.
you can go out and buy it, but it's like, do you really need it?
Right.
Do you really need it? You know, from a business perspective, I had to learn that after a couple of years. Like, I don't need that. Like, but I would say I stay up on the trends, but I just feel like I just kind of like stay in my lane when it comes to that, because like I shoot senior photographers. I mean, shoot seniors, then I'll watch other seniors and just like watch different styles and stuff like that. When it comes to the products, I mean the gear.
Yeah.
If it's something that I feel like, man, I need that, I'll make the picture pop, and I go get it or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, I don't even use it.
Right.
And it's just like I'm doing it based on what somebody else is doing. And so the trends is cool, but I feel like if you gotta go, you gotta plan, and you stay on that. But again, like I said, if it's something that you're trying to tap into, yeah, go try it out. You know what I'm saying? For real estate, just always making sure, looking at the rates, just seeing like, looking in, real estate news, mortgage news, and just seeing like if rates fluctuate and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of the way to kind of stay ahead, but the market is always changing. So it's the best thing you can do is just kind of like, just make sure you're just like educating yourself on like the industry.
Do you take like any continuing education courses?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah, so continuing education classes for sure for real estate and lending as well. Yeah.
Nice. So is there some type of like continuing education platform that you would recommend?
Yeah. So for like when you're a real estate agent, you have Hondros.
Okay.
That's like everybody go to Hondros
Yes.
in Ohio.
Yep.
And so they have like a platform, and in lending there's a course called On Course.
Okay.
So you have to take it every 3 years, called CE classes.
Okay.
Since I'm like within my first year, I had to take like, it's like a post certification you got to get.
Okay.
And so and it's about law and things like that. Like
Does it cost? Do they have free courses at all? Any free courses?
No, it costs. You got to pay for it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you have to pay.
Okay.
To be in business.
Gotta ask.
Business not free. No,
Right.
nah.
They may have some free courses out there.
And they may. I don't even know. Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
cool.
even know. Yeah. But yeah.
So what's some advice that you would give? It could be general advice as an entrepreneur. It could be advice in the photography space. It could be advice in the real estate space.
Yeah. I would definitely say, like, if you're in business, just kind of like count up the costs. Like, just know your numbers. Like, just know what you're getting into. Like, I think sometimes we can get into it hastily, which is good because that's the beginning of it. But like, if you're doing business, just make sure you're doing your research.
Okay.
Doing your research. Reach out to people who are in that space. Like, genuinely reach out to them and like swallow the pride, and just like, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And be okay with that. And I think there's wisdom in that, because like, if you don't know, at least you know somebody who may know it. You know that saying, but just reach out to people who are in that space, who are doing it well, and just learn from that. But also as a person, individual, man, just kind of pour into yourself. Like, I think mindset is huge. Books, read books, audiobooks, just got to pour into yourself, like, because if you're not reading or growing, I mean, then you're not really like feeding it. Or if you're not reading, if you're not feeding yourself, then you're really not like growing in a sense, right? Like, what new information have you like learned or developed? If you're not pouring into yourself, and so I'm big on that. I would definitely say, like, from a business aspect and then to an individual aspect, then take care of yourself. I think health is huge. Like, I think we chase wealth so much.
Absolutely.
But it's okay to work out a little bit and, make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Exactly.
And then too, like, man, like, I know for us in particular, like with our family, like, we want to build a generational wealth, right? And so, that's we chasing legacy.
Exactly.
And so it's like, I think with that is just making sure if you're in business, just making sure you're doing all your due diligence to make that business become what you wanted it to become.
Right.
But then also too, the business is you. And so as you point into that business, you got to point to yourself too.
Exactly.
And that's key.
Yes,
and
sir.
so I would say that's my biggest advice, man, honestly, because I can give all the advice, but I think that's the core of it, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one last question. As an entrepreneur, how do you prepare for the exit in terms of retirement?
That's good, man. So as an entrepreneur, as you investing is huge.
Okay.
Right? And I'm not like a guru, right?
No. Just your personal
There's people,
experience.
just for personal experience.
Yeah.
I think retirement the exit is really, because sometimes you could be like, I'm getting this money. That's great, right? But then you have something called inflation.
Absolutely.
So inflation is basically like $1 today is not $1 tomorrow or next year, right?
Right.
And so it's a good book that I read. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
It talks about the 7 steps.
Man, a lot of people recommend that.
Man, it's a really good book, bro. Man, when I tell you it is good, and it teaches you the 7 steps how to accumulate wealth.
Okay.
Right. And so it's like, even if you're in corporate, not necessarily just business, even if you're a corporate or if you own a business, take in a little bit what you have and make sure you invested that.
Okay.
And whatever that little bit is, right?
Okay.
Or if you got more, invest that, right? Get with like a financial planner so you can talk about it, right? And it's not gonna make you rich right now.
Yeah.
But over the years, because you got to secure income for the future. So we focus on secure income for now, but you got to secure for the future, because you're not gonna always be 30. You're not always gonna be 40.
Exactly.
And so like I know for us, our personal experience with that is that's what we've always been doing, because we know that's important. My kids get older, I want to be able to hang out with my kids. I'm not trying to work.
Exactly.
when they're in their primes and traveling and things like that, I want to be able to do that.
Right.
And I think the now is to pour into that now and not wait until that time. And so that's one of the things I do. Invest money back into in retirement and stuff like that. Or if you're into flipping real estate, that could be a 401k too.
That's true.
Because each property has a value.
Right.
And so that's how I look at it. And so whatever that is, you got to just invest. You got to secure income for the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, you know what I appreciate about this interview, man? First of all, again, I appreciate you for even hopping on. The fact that it was well-rounded, man. So you talked about financial wealth, spiritual wealth, mental wealth, or health, I should say, financial health, physical health, just all the way around, man, just really touching on all of the key points, man. And I think that's important, especially as a family man, family man, God-fearing man, willing to go out there and build on your own. And that's not a knock, against anyone. To your point, that's still in corporate, because you can still build.
Absolutely.
But the fact that you stepped out there on faith to build in a different way, I commend you for that, man.
Thanks, man.
For sure, I respect that.
Absolutely. You can build in corporate. Just know that you're capped. And I don't want to prolong it.
Oh, no.
You can build in corporate. You can. It's just, I think with corporate, you're not going to become wealthy, right? And you got to understand that. And I think sometimes people can go through those motions of like, man, I hate this job, I hate that. Okay, find another job, right? But just understand your true happiness is not going to come from that. I think sometimes we attach ourselves to that.
Yep.
That's not the issue. We got to change some stuff up internally, or we got to fix our focus. That way we can use that corporate job as a vehicle to get to where we need to go, right? And I think that should be the goal for anybody who have those aspirations or inspired to become business owners is if you're in corporate, it's not to belittle anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can build a business while you're there, and
Right.
then also use your job to that's why you and I talk. We never badmouth it. Where we worked at, like no, this is what paying the bills.
Exactly.
Like, and I think it's just you got to just fix the focus.
Yeah.
Like, this is what paid the bills. Like me being in corporate
Right.
afforded me to be right where I'm at now.
Exactly.
Because I use corporate just like they use me.
Right.
And so like I'm happy, man. So
Right.
yeah, no, for sure. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So how can the people contact you for, photography needs? Because I'm sure we have a lot of seniors coming up in the next, 6 or 7 months for their mortgage lending needs, or if they need a real estate agent, like they said, they're looking for someone who's personable, someone relatable, someone with good character and integrity. Yeah, so just provide your contact information if you don't mind.
For photography, you can visit me on GNH Studios on Instagram. GNH Studios, well, actually info@gnhstudios.com. That's my website.
Okay.
You can kind of like do a questionnaire, like contact me, put in your information. For the lending side, it's greg@tidelending.com. Even if you just want like some advice, how to like see if you can shop around for better rate, better terms, I can definitely do some pricing for people. For real estate, it's Greg Nelson at Columbus Real Estate on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any last words to close us out?
Man, this is dope, man.
Okay.
This is
Cool. I appreciate it.
I ain't had
man.
no script. I just came raw, unedited, and I love it, man.
That's how it's supposed to be.
But
man.
I would just say, man, I'm proud of you, though, for real, man.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
glad you're getting this started, man. This is awesome, bro.
I appreciate it.
And like I know, like starting out, you may just feel like, man, I know it's gonna work, right? Because God giving you that. He's ordering your steps, but just know, man, this is awesome, bro. Just know every big corporation started off little.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So this is amazing, dude. I'm
I
proud of you,
appreciate
for
it.
sure, man.
Thanks,
just
man.
seeing where you came from, you somebody who inspired me when we was in corporate, man.
Right.
With the tie and all that. I wasn't all the way there, and I was like, this dude is super sharp, man. And just to see you now, every conversation we ever had was always about career mobility, just bettering ourselves. And every time I left you never gave me homework, but I felt like I always had homework. I was like, this guy tired, man. But you always stimulated my mind, bro. And I appreciate you, man, always being consistent.
Thanks, man.
Always been the same. So thank you for having me here, though. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure. So Greg closes out great. We'll put all of his information down in the description. But hey, thank you for joining the Let's Evolve for Tomorrow podcast, where we help aspiring new and existing entrepreneurs excel to the next level by inviting other aspiring new and existing entrepreneurs to the podcast where they can give knowledge and gems on how to get to the next level. We'll see you next time.